Well, it's been a whole week since I was with you all. And probably a little reminder of what we did last week would be helpful. Because as you can see, this is part 6. That means there's 5 parts from last week that some of you weren't even around. So you'll need a total recap. What to speak of a reminder. This is, we were, last time I was in Naperville, we were primarily discussing chapter 14 of Canto 10. And Canto 10, chapter 14 is Brahma's prayers to Krishna. Fantastic prayers. This is the concluding section. And a little going back, all in one day of earthly time, because Brahma's time is a whole year, one moment is a whole year, but earthly time, all in one day, so the same day, chapter 12, this is 14. Chapter 12, Krishna gets a bright idea. He's 4 years. We're going to see commentary. He says he's in his 5th year, which is somewhere between 4 and 5, because it's his 5th year. Krishna's 4 years, 4 months. And he and his friends, they're every day, not 5 days of the week, 7 days of the week, every day, they're taking care of the calves. And Krishna gets a bright idea. He wants to skip breakfast and take breakfast out, or have a little lunch bag so he can have. So it's part of the plan. It's part of the Leela. Here's the Leela. They're sitting having lunch. And that lunch happens after chapter 12. After chapter 12, playing many nice things we heard in chapter 12. And then Agasura is there. And very mysterious things happen without all of what chapter 12 says. And then Krishna decides how to kill Agasura. So he does. And Agasura gets liberation. He who wanted to kill Krishna gets liberation. Not just Sayuja, but he, according to our acharyas, he gets Sarupya. But Sarupya in Vaikuntha, because he's not eligible for being a resident in Vrindavan. And that ends chapter 12, because commonly what happens after a demon is killed, it's time for lunch. So they sit down and they have lunch. Krishna picks the spot by the side of the river Jamuna, and in previous chapter 12, the demigods were watching, and they knew Agasura was wicked. And when the cowherd boys entered the mouth of Agasura, they made sounds like that they were fearful for the well-being of the cowherd boys. So Krishna entered, expanded his body so big, the life air of Agasura was choked. The soul popped out of the top of his head and merged into Krishna's body, and our acharyas said it wasn't, he had attained Sarupya. So they're having lunch. And watching, actually, what the Bhagavatam says is that the demigods were watching, and they made such a clamor that Lord Brahma, when the demon was killed, Lord Brahma heard the clamor, so he came to see what was going on. When he saw what was going on, the liberation of Agasura was understood by him, and he became astonished. And so he had this really bad idea. His bad idea was he was going to kidnap the calves and the cowherd boys and go back by the side of the river Jamuna and see what Krishna would do. So he was in offense. He's interrupting Krishna's pastimes. He's stealing the calves and cowherd boys. And he's challenging his power against Krishna's power to see what Krishna is going to do. 3 strikes and you're out, at least in baseball. And he came back to the scene of the crime, and when he saw this is the wrong picture. Krishna was sitting with the calves and the cowherd boys. And then Brahma saw all the forms of Vishnu simultaneously for as many cowherd boys as there were. And there's many cowherd boys. Asankitaha, we'll see the translation. And for 1 year, this is something that happens at the end of chapter 13. In the moment, or short few moments that Lord Brahma was gone and came back, in that period of time, 1 year had passed on earth. The 1 year that had passed on earth was Krishna had manifested himself as replacement calves and cowherd boys. And there was a purpose, a transcendental purpose. The mothers and the fathers wished to have Krishna as their son. They liked their sons, but they had a special affection for Krishna. Everyone in Vrindavan has special affection for Krishna. That's their eligibility for being in Vrindavan. And so they wanted Krishna as their son, or Krishna as their calf. So for 1 year, Krishna became their son, or their calf, and they didn't recognize it. And Balaram didn't recognize. Anyway, there's many details. That's chapter 13. So this is a painting showing I'm confused because the sequence, the next sequence is Krishna showing the Vishnu forms, but that happened first. So during the 1 year, Krishna was the calf and Krishna was the boys. As many cowherd boys as there were, as many calves as there were. So one fine day, the cows, you know the pastime, the cows were grazing on the side of Govardhan Hill, and the cows at the bottom of Govardhan Hill, they saw their calves. And they started running down the hill. Cows running is funny to watch. What to speak of down a hill. And then the cowherd men were chasing behind them with their sticks raised, saying, however you say it in Brijbasi, stop. They didn't stop. And they ran. And when they reached the bottom of the hill, they wanted to be with their calves. And when the cowherd men saw their sons, they embraced their sons. They completely forgot the whole program with the cows and the calves. And Krishna and Balaram were watching the fun. Because Krishna knew, now Balaram is starting to get an inkling. Meaning, Yogamaya arranged things in such a way that not only Balaram wasn't there when the stealing of the calves and cowherd boys took place, but Balaram was covered by Yogamaya, so he didn't know what was going on. That the calves and the cowherd boys were Krishna. But then Yogamaya curtain started to pull back and he started to understand. And then Brahma is going to offer prayers. So this is what we covered last time. Besides a little summary, there's different sections of verses This is refresher for those that were with us, and it's new for those of you that weren't. In it's groups of clusters of verses. Appreciating Krishna. Two special verses. We spent a lot of time on verse number 3 and verse number 8. Then, after expressing the glories of Krishna, he Brahma, is expressions of humility, how foolish I was, etc., etc. And please forgive me. He's appealing for the mercifulness of Krishna. He then goes into a whole section of the inconceivable potencies of Krishna, the inconceivable qualities of Krishna. He speaks of knowledge that's beyond the knowledge of Vrindavan. He's expressing a hankering to be in Vrindavan, just like stay there and be in the association of Krishna and the Brajvasis. Although he is the topmost person in the universe, he's developed now a profound appreciation and this hankering that's where he wants to reside. It doesn't happen. He goes back to his abode, being Brahmaloka. He then speaks of the Vrajvasis, especially the mothers and the fathers, and then all the residents of Vrindavan. And his hankering is like that. And then we're just now going to be discussing this final section, Glorious Krishna. So here's a little mini summary. The first 7 of the 8 verses. Lord Brahma, enthralled by Krishna's beauty. The first introductory verse is just so sweet. It's just describing the beauty of Krishna. His complexion of dark blue rain cloud, wearing lightning-like yellow clothing, natural gunjaberry earrings, peacock feather, forest flower garlands, holding a bugle, cow-herding stick, and morsel of food in his left hand, looking at Brahma with unblinking eyes. And Brahma is very much appreciating the scene. And then he expresses it's not easy to understand you at all in your little cowherd boy form, how to understand you. So this Jnane Prayasa Udapasya Namanta Eva verse. It's a very important verse in the whole of the entire Bhagavatam. Throw away even the slightest of speculation. Dedicate to hearing your glories from pure devotees. Worship you, Tanavan Manobir, with body, mind, and words. And finally, bhakti is superior to jnana and yoga. It's the topmost system. This mercy is the verse number 8. Again, we spent nearly a whole class just on this one verse. One earnestly waits for your causeless mercy, patiently enduring his karmic reactions, offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. This verse, Tattenu Kampam Susamikshamano, we spent a lot of time with this. This verse was spoken, it was accepted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when Ramananda Roy was asked the question, what's the goal of life and how to achieve it? So this is the verse. This is just paraphrasing it in simple language. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted, yes, this is it. So what a package. The goal of life and how to achieve it. Of course, you can expand it, but the elements are there. Stane satak, stay in your position. And while stay in your position, expect the mercy of Krishna. How is that mercy Krishna going to come? It's going to come from hearing. And hearing respectfully. And with respectful obeisances, with heart, mind, and words. Hearing the topics of Krishna. Letting the flow of your residual previous life pass by without attachment to it, and become firmly attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by this transcendental process, the bhakti process, beginning with hearing. And your path to the spiritual world is open. So then that section ends, and he enters another section of prayers. So these are all prayers. We're going to finish this evening with the final of his prayers, the final 4. Humility, abject humility. He berates himself, not low self-esteem, but just he recognizes he made a big offense. Not just like, whoops. It was more than whoops. It was more than a mistake. Then it's not like he backpedals, but he makes a distinction between something that's with malice and something that's just foolish, like a little boy does little naughty things or foolish things. So he's likening himself to a little naughty boy. And it was just his foolishness. So, but it wasn't, I didn't mean harm to you or to the coward boy, just, I got carried away. So I'm ready to be punished in ways that you see fit. I'm not asking for you to go light with the sentence, but I'm asking in our relationship that you forgive me for my foolish behavior. I tested you. What am I in comparison to you? Please forgive my foolish impudence. Then he speaks of Krishna and Krishna being both his mother and his father. Everyone has a mother and father. To me, you are my mother. And how is this so? All creation is within your abdomen. You're my mother. And you're my father. I was born from the lotus that come from your navel. So, Mom and Dad, I'm appealing to you. Please forgive my foolish, childish behaviors. And then he goes into describing what he saw, this image. You were one, then manifested as many cowherd boys. Then further, each cowherd boy, multiple Vishnu forms. And then beyond that, all of the energies of a universe surrounded, personified, surrounded each of those, was a crowded space, surrounded each one of the Vishnu forms. How many Vishnu forms were there? Asankhya. And each of those Asankhya Vishnu forms were surrounded by all the elements of creation and time personified, and this energy, that energy, the other energy personified, and well, balcony seats. There's a special price for balcony seats, You get a better vantage point than, anyway. You are the supreme control of the material energy. Your pastimes go on in different universes at the same time. Who can understand these? You're inconceivable. And of course, this is a summary. There's all these verses, but he makes a case. Like not just wow, but he has lists of all of what he was shown. Now, it was appropriate in one sense, because what's the capacity of Lord Brahma? I mean, just like sitting here, you know something about why this wouldn't go on and why all all this spaghetti on the floor here, and how it connects with different things and makes things work. Or somebody else knows like how to build a screen, or somebody else knows how to build a Tesla. Somebody else knows how to build a spaceship. Somebody else knows he knows how to build the universe down to the minutest atoms of the universe. I mean, he's not just an engineer. He built the universe. And Vishnu maintains, and he's Vishnu's servant. Anyway, so he's way up there. And what Brahma showed him, what Krishna showed to Brahma was like everything. And it's his circuit shot. And he just paid his obeisances. What can I say? You're beyond anyone's capacity, beyond my and anyone's capacity to understand. Then he's going to go to knowledge. You see the lamp. So there's Krishna, there's the lamp, and there's Prabhupada. Only those who have received such knowledge from the sun-like spiritual master can see you as you are. There's a big, strong message about, I can't understand you, you're inconceivable. Others keep looking for you outside of your Supreme Personality. They conclude that the Supreme is something else, like Brahman. So then he deals with, the commentary specifically deals with both Brahmavadis and Mayavadis. I won't redo that one because it still takes too long. But Mayavadis are the offenders because their assertion is all there is one thing, that's Brahman. And anything that looks like it's other than Brahman is just Maya covering Brahman. Like Krishna is a form of Maya covering Brahman. And so are you, and so am I, and so is the mosquito, and we're all God. It's all one. And that's, decrying the form of Krishna and qualities of Krishna and activities of Krishna. It's just a big stroke and it's just Maya. That's what Mayavadis do. And then a distinction is those that can have some capacity to understand transcendence or Brahman, but they don't defy Krishna. They don't explicitly offend Krishna. Anyway, there's gradations of ignorance and gradations of incomplete knowledge. Your saintly devotees search and find you inside and out. They reject anything that does not support them in this endeavor. So it's just the bhakti process leads to the highest realization. It makes comparisons between the path of yoga and the path of gyan and the path of karma. Then the Brijbasis, how greatly fortunate are the cows and the ladies of Braja. You have accepted their breast milk to your full satisfaction. How greatly fortunate are Nanda Maharaj and the other inhabitants of Brajabhumi. The supreme bliss personified is their friend. Their fortune is inconceivable. But we, the governing demigods of the senses, are also fortunate to witness their rasa with you. It's a nice understanding. There's a philosophical message. There's the controlling deities of the senses experience what the senses of the Brijbasis experience when they experience Krishna. So we're fortunate because they're fortunate. Very interesting. I mean, Sankhya philosophy built into these nice prayers. Please grant me a birth in the land of Braja, even in the animal species. He has such appreciation. He's the most powerful, intelligent, influential person in the whole universe, wishing to be some living entity taking birth in Vrindavan. Okay, so now comes our verses, the final verses, 4 verses, ending his prayers. And coming attractions, it's not over yet. Wow, that was pretty good. How did you do that? Can you do it again? You have a friend? Huh? All of them. All of them. But you have a space right next to you. Okay. There's another 20 verses that come from 41 through 60, and after the Festival of the Holy Name, we'll start on that little sojourn, and then who knows what'll happen next time. Maybe we'll finish chapter 14. It's a really fantastic chapter. Okay, here we go. Text 37. My dear Master, although you have nothing to do with material existence, you come to this earth to imitate material life, just to expand the varieties of ecstatic enjoyment for your surrendered devotees. Now, this is touching on something that we said like many times, so I'll say it again. There are different reasons why Krishna appears. We know there's list 3 things in Bhagavad Gita. You know the verse? Pritranaya sadhunam. Okay. Let's say the verse together. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma sangsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge. Very good. Well-educated audience. So 3 reasons. They protect the devotees, deal with the duskritis, and restore dharma. Those are 3 reasons. But it's not that it's only 3 reasons, but those are 3 prominent, all the different avatars of the Supreme Lord that appear. But when Krishna appears, especially, there are 4 qualities that Krishna especially has, and they're Madhurya this and Madhurya that. And he is exchanging love, or rasa. I was just looking before coming here. The verse number 3, look it up later when you go home, or tomorrow morning or something. 113. Pibata Bhagavatam rasam alayam. Krishna exchanges rasa. That's he comes, as exactly as it says here, Brahma is saying, to stimulate, to provide activities and interactions with his loving devotees of different types. Sridhar Swami makes this nice comment. He said, how many varieties of living entities are there, personality-wise? There's no limit. And Krishna is a satisfier of each of those devotees, which means his qualities are unlimited. So different persons are particularly inspired by different qualities. And Krishna is everything. He rasavai saha. Saha is a pronoun, means it or he. So he, vai, certainly, is rasa. It's just like very succinct, rasavai saha. He is rasa. So he bumps into someone and they get all juicy. Bumps into another someone, they get all, because look at that verse. One of the word-for-word definitions of rasa is juice. Krishna's juicy. And the varieties of juice, not just mango or apple or grape or, all varieties and mixtures of varieties. He's everything. He is rasa of all varieties. And he is everything for, he is the center of everyone's everything. In one entity. He's the supreme person who is rasa. And so he experiences and he extends to others. And that's what he does. And we want to be with him. And if we don't understand why it's not important to be with him, just read Srimad Bhagavatam. And especially the wonderful commentaries by our acharyas, because they illuminate. And one of the sweetest of acharyas in his writing commentaries is Vishwanath. He always finds a rasa angle on everything that happens. He's a Rasika Bhakta, Rasika Acharya. Anyway, we'll see what he has to say about these verses. See, you come to this earth to imitate material life, just to expand the varieties of ecstatic enjoyment for your surrendered devotees. Like, for example, in Vaikuntha, is there a mother and father of Narayan? Does he have childhood pastimes? But in Vrindavan, he has childhood pastimes. Here's one. As you may know that this nice pastimes. This is Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, with snakes around him and, all kinds of weird looking things. He wanted to see the child Krishna after his birth. And Mother Yasoda was, But Krishna started crying when she was hesitating. And when Krishna started crying, it got louder and louder and louder. She thought it was some bad spirit affecting her. Maybe this mystic tantric fellow can take the spell away. So she allowed him to see Krishna. And he stopped crying. Krishna started smiling. Lord Shiva was very satisfied. Mother Yasoda asked him for blessings to take bad omens and take them away from affecting Krishna. For what purpose does he imitate? Vishwanath writes, to spread bliss to those who had taken shelter of you. That is, to give them bliss that arises by relishing the pastime even better than the bliss of Brahman, even better than the bliss of the pastimes of Vaikuntha. So, as you may know, those of you that have been to Vrindavan, you'll know at Nandagram, every time they make offerings to Krishna, who gets the prasadam first? The Shila, Nandishwara Mahadev, gets the first offering. Vishwanath goes on. A candle is not as resplendent in light as it is in darkness. A diamond is not as completely resplendent on a whitish silver vessel as it is on the vessel of blue crystal. Similarly, or likewise, transcendental pastimes are not as completely astonishing in Vaikuntha, which is transcendental, as they are in the material world made of Maya. I mean, the pastimes are transcendental. They're not more transcendental or less transcendental in this place or that place. It's one particular angle. When Krishna makes his appearance, it's astonishing. Anything he does is astonishing. Although Brajamangala is transcendental, A similarity of attributes between Brajamandala, situated on earth, and the earth is like the similarity of attributes between Krishna and a material man. Thus, here the pastimes bring about astonishment. So, Govardhan Leela. Krishna's capacity is without limit. Everything about him is without limit. But when a little boy of 7 years old picks up a mountain, what? Fiction, fairy tale. No. But then if it's not that, then what is it? We discussed this. He's doing multiple things at the same time. He's curbing the pride of Indra. He's protecting the Vrajbasis. He's giving the Vrajbasis uninterrupted darshan of him for 7 days. Because that doesn't happen. There's the meeting and separation because he's with the cowherd boys during the day, and then he comes back and he's not with the cowherd boys anymore. He's with his parents having their dinner. And then he's with the gopis at night, and so at different intervals of time in the daily routine. So Krishna is fulfilling the desires of everyone in Vrindavan. Text 38. There are people who say, I know everything about Krishna. Let them think this way. As far as I'm concerned, I do not wish to speak very much about this matter. Oh, my Lord, let me say this much. As far as your opulences are concerned, they are all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. So this mind, body, and words expression has come several times now. But you're not, I'm the topmost, and you're beyond anything I can have any experience or conception of, other than being, one of the presiding deities of the senses. So through the Vrajbasi senses, I can have a sense of you. Again, Vishwanath. Krishna. What you say is true. How many persons like you who wittingly proclaim in front of me all the truths about my identity, my Vrajbasis, my pastimes, and my devotees are there in the world? You should try to meet such scholars and start a club. Suspecting such a sarcastic response, Brahma speaks with embarrassment, tremor, and remorse. Let those who know you think that they know, but I am just a big fool. Vishwanath is wonderful Acharya. Krishna. So, why did you keep talking about all this time? Brahma, yes. In your presence, talking much is suggestive of foolishness. Brahma, your godly might is neither in the scope of my mind, even by meditating on it, nor in the scope of my body, that is, not even by looking at you now, nor in the range of my words. I already said, who is able to enumerate your qualities? The magnificence of your mind is not my department. What can I possibly know about what is in your mind? 2 more verses. My dear Krishna, I now humbly request permission to leave. Actually, you are the knower and seer of all things. Indeed, you are the Lord of all the universes, and yet I offer this one universe unto you. Sanatana Goswami writes, as if because of not knowing him, here Brahma, resorting to the highest meekness due to the disappearance of all conceits by the Lord's special mercy engendered by the power of praise, requests the order to go to his abode. And both Sanatana Goswami and Vishwanath again, Krishna says, Brahma, you say you want to take birth here, so why do you want to go away? Brahma, Krishna, you, of course, are notorious as the one who attracts the hearts. I pray to you, may I have profuse good fortune, by which I have some birth here. Verse 34. And you did not respond, even by an ocular sign, by a glance. Nothing. You didn't say, you didn't, no body language, nothing. Therefore, I am an offender, having created an impediment in your jolly pastime of eating on that sandbank going far from here. You may drive the calves and continue your bhojana lila, your lunch pastimes. From the beginning, Brahma stated that Lord Krishna is hard to understand because his qualities are both inconceivable and limitless. This is Sridhar Swami's comment. Some philosophers say, we understand Lord Krishna perfectly. In this verse, Brahma speaks as if he mocks such persons. Your magnificence is not in the scope of my mind. My dear Sri Krishna, you bestow happiness upon the lotus-like Vrishni dynasty and expand the great oceans, consisting of the earth, the demigods, and the brahmanas, and the cows. You dispel the dense darkness of irreligion and oppose the demons who have appeared on this earth. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, as long as this universe exists, and as long as the sun shines, I will offer my obeisances unto you. And that's the final verse, final prayer. And he's going to depart. O you who give pleasure, who give the pleasure of being in bloom to the lotus of the Vrishni dynasty, I am the offspring of a lotus. By your mercy, make me bloom too. Poetry. Whoops. Out of mercy, dispel my impiousness, my desire to play a magical trick on you, my master, so that I will not do that again. There's the Bakasura. Even by doing harm, by doing them harm, you give the demons a destination that pertains to you. So reform me too, the Rakshasa named Brahma, by giving me punishment too, since I harmed your calves and your companions. Humility and acceptance. Although you do not speak, this is Vishwanath's commentary, although you do not speak because you understand that I am a great offender, at least give me the nectar of a gracious look with both eyes, so that I will be able to live until the end of the eon, while constantly keeping my life heirs alive with that nourishment, humility, and submission. Having thus offered his prayers, Brahma circumambulated his worshipable Lord, the unlimited personality Godhead, 3 times, and then bowed down at his lotus feet. The appointed creator of the universe then returned to his own residence. So that's the end of his prayers, but it's not the end of the chapter. We'll come back and speak about what happens next. It's a lot of philosophy. So if you just like kirtan, come for kirtan. You can leave for the philosophy section. But he's going to summarize. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as you know, commonly in both the Chaitanya Shikshamrita and Krishna Samhita, he makes some statement, the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, in killing of demons. In this case, he didn't kill Brahma. He dealt with Vritrasura, Aghasura, anarthas that can be overcome by studying and meditating on Brahma Vimohan pastime, skepticism and unnecessary doubts that block one on the path of bhakti. And there's many, many, many things, the inconceivable potencies of Krishna being exhibited very openly, very freely, and described by Brahma and our acharyas so wonderfully, lucidly, very sweet. So unnecessary doubts that block the neophyte on the path of bhakti are within this pastimes. Attachment, or tendency to give more importance to the Aishvarya feature than the sweetness aspect of Krishna. In other words, this pastime, as all of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, they induce one to have to hold with greater regard the sweetness feature of Krishna's pastimes than the majestic feature of Krishna's pastimes, wherever he may be. And that's one of the things I appreciate especially about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. When he's commenting on pastimes, of course there's the omnipotency of the all-powerful Krishna, lifting of Govardhan Hill, but it's the sweetness of the exchange with his devotees, that his focus of attention. And he's always drawing his reader, us, to that feature of everything that Krishna does. And that's the effect of hearing Krishna's pastimes, Brahma Vimohan Leela, but for that matter, any of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Just a little sharing. I've shared this a few times already. A couple Sunday feasts ago, I was in Potomac. And those of you that have been to the Potomac Temple, the new temple is up on the hill where the White House was, and now the Sunday feast class is down where the old temple was. And the reason is there's a lot of people milling around upstairs in front of the deities and doing what people do when they are coming to see the deity. They don't just see the deities, the jibber jabber, the whole thing going on. So class is to be undisturbed is down at the bottom of the hill where the old temple was. And like Naperville, the makeup of the congregation is, look around the room, it's what percentage non-resident Indians are there in the room or in the family of non-resident Indians. If you're Donald Trump, then you make a big deal about where you were born. But anyway, so at the end of class, family came up. They had a teenage young fellow with him, And the father said, "My son would like to ask you a few questions." Is that okay? Sure. And the young man had an angry look on his face throughout the whole. He didn't smile at all. He was angry. And it was his turn to speak. I'm a Catholic. Like I'm supposed to squirm because he's a Catholic, I guess. I said, "Oh, very nice." So then he said, were you practicing this since your childhood? Like, tone. No. And why are you doing this instead of what you were doing when you were a child? Like, what was the conversion thing all about? This is at the end of a Sunday feast class. There's lots of people around the room, and he's in a challenging tone, and his body language and the whole thing. So I decided to backpedal a little bit and say, since I was a little boy, I always was curious. I wanted to know. And, I wanted to know how you tune a piano. There's a whole little pastime of learning how to tune a piano. And, I wanted to, when I found out about heaven, I wanted to know about heaven. But I couldn't find out because nobody really knew. You're supposed to, God is good and God is great. Then we had a hymnal. Do you have a Bible? You have a hymnal. You're in a Catholic church. I've been to a Catholic church. It's a nice place. So, Lord God Almighty, merciful and mighty. So He's powerful, but is there a limit? What's the range of His powerfulness? And then you have faith in what the Bible says. So do I. Because what the Bible says is not different than what Bhagavad Gita says, but Bhagavad Gita says more, and then there's Vedic texts that say more. So I'm doing what I'm doing because I learned more about God and the source of everything. His face was, like, he wasn't getting angry. He just was the same challenging mood. It didn't go in at all. So, I just left it with this. I invite you to be a little thoughtful. Like you have a lot of faith in what you're doing. Fantastic. I also had a lot of faith in what I was doing. Fantastic. We're both fantastic brothers meeting one another. And give it some thought to, not just out of sentiment that you're doing what you're doing. And it's not just out of sentiment that I'm living for the past number of years, living a life of devotion to Krishna with a very clear sense of His name, qualities, His abode, what He does there, what those who are with Him do there. And it's very attractive. So give it some thought. Just give it some thought. Next time I see you here at the temple, you can tell me what your thoughts were. It was just like Madhurena Samachara, to try to end it on a sweet note. And his face was still. But just this chapter so far, we've gone, this Brahma's prayers and what preceded that and what preceded that. It's so eye-opening and heart-opening and so much filled with rasa. How could you fail to be attracted? Okay, so our host wants something to do with their deities, so I want to be responsive and polite and all those nice things with their deities. But there's all these nice devotees in the room, so I'm sure, let's take some time for discussion, comments, questions. We do have a portable microphone, right? Okay. all the way in the corner in the back.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I think we were discussing about this in your last week's visit also. It's only due to our Acharya's kind commentaries that we are able to
Yeah.
see the rasa flow.
Yeah.
If not for that, and if not for these discussions, your kind presence and classes, if we just read the prayers, such beautiful and heartfelt prayers, and then Lord Brahma just goes away, and he was saying Krishna is not even giving a glance. I mean, forget about responding.
You're making a comment. Am I supposed to respond with a comment or to your comment? You asking a question?
Yes,
You're
Guru Maharaj.
giggling. What else are you doing?
I'm sorry. Yeah, there is some kind of agitation in the heart, like Krishna is not directly responding to the devotees, such a sincere, heartfelt call out.
You know my answer to that. Tell me what my answer is to that. You can Hare Krishna, but you can't Hurry Krishna. That's one. He has his own sweet will. And he may be seeing a mountain of pride in there. And if he reciprocates with the mountain of pride, or whatever else, he knows best. He's the loving Father, and he can do with us what is best for us, and we don't know what's best for us. And so sometimes. Are you asking this question for yourself or for everybody? Yourself. Supposing you have a disease and the doctor says, take bitter medicine. Are you diseased? You acknowledge you have a disease, so then take whatever it is. And whatever is coming to you from the best physician, the dearmost friend, the best wise person, is going to be the best thing for you, whatever that is. So it's a matter of the heart, and different hearts can be recipients of different things. But the source is the same source, who is everything. He is rasa. And that one rasa may be a better medicine. That's okay. Good for you. Whatever it is. And somebody else may be something else and something else. I'm tempted to say something that will be flattery, but I don't think I'll do it. Your experience of Krishna Bhakti is not the Krishna is absent. I know you well enough to know that's not your experience. So that may be something. Each of us may pass through some stretch of time that may feel like that. But please look at the person and the big picture. And associate with those persons who are, and you do this, not that you don't do this, but associate with those persons who are making their Krishna connection strongly. And that will help you or each of us to make our Krishna connection strongly by associating with those that have that as part of their nature and their capacity. No violins, please. Okay. Someone else. Shri Radhika upstairs. Oh, she's sitting right next to the speaker. You're going to have to move. You stand up, it'll do it probably. Okay.
Guru Maharaj, this is regarding the verse Sthane Sthita. So it seems embedded within the message of graceful acceptance of our situation,
Yeah.
with a very strong emphasis on our sadhana.
Yes, Shruti Gatam.
Embedded within that acceptance is a message of progress. Because I'm thinking most of us are grahastas, and while we joyfully accept this wonderful situation Krishna has given us for service, we are also making steps towards the next ashram. We don't want to forever be, or we understand that it is for our benefit to move towards detachment. So I was just wondering if you would be willing to comment on this graceful navigation of, yes, stay in your position, strong sadhana, and it seems like from that organically you move to the next position.
Well, yeah. I mean, but if I want to take a big risk and comment on something that's natural, I don't understand the question. I don't have the spirit of the question. If I want to risk it, yeah. The idea is bhakti is not based upon neti. The bhakti is based upon the soul has a natural relationship, and the soul in this conditioned state has affinities for the temporary. Acknowledging both, then according to your psychophysical nature, you engage in bhakti, and it purifies the psychophysical part, and it enlivens the spiritual part. Or it's like a dimmer switch. The light is becoming brighter and the darkness is diminishing. So it's just a natural progression. It's to be expected, not to be feared. It's to be expected. The greater affinity for transcendence, and thus the detachment for the shadow of transcendence, because that's what the material world is. It's a shadow or darkness. But when there's no darkness, there's only light, then there's not affinity for the shadow, because there's no shadow. So it's a natural progression, very natural, seamless progression from sthane satak to detachment, but not artificial, and very natural, if it's done properly, very natural sequence. The focus upon Krishna gets stronger. The feeling of the presence of Krishna gets stronger. And then the affinity for that which is not directly connected to Krishna, it pales. It's very easy to understand and very natural. Just like hear the voice of the children. Can hardly not hear it. They're really loud. So they're having a great time. Maybe they were here for kirtan, but they don't want to. Anyway, So at different stages of life, there are things that are really important to someone. So then, like when we have our retreats, I'm thinking about this because I invited Urmila to be the next speaker. And she was not at all clear. She traveled. She doesn't do much travel in the U.S. She spends international time. So I was just describing to her, when we have our retreats, how many adults, how many teenagers, and how many, sub-teenagers, the smaller children, and all different activities for all. So because they're different, but it's Krishna-centered, according to that person's, capacity. And the cultivation of the Krishna-centeredness at this capacity, that capacity, that capacity. Once it's inside, then that the tendency, at least, it's easy for it to continue. So it's a natural progression. You are not likely to go do what the children are doing. Go sit with them and see how they're having fun, but to do the same stuff with them and giggle and laugh, and not likely to happen. It's progression, natural progression. It's not looking down upon children that do children things, or the grahastas that do grahastas things, or something. It's progression. Stane sitat kritikatam tanavan varobir. And the spiritual consciousness awakens and blossoms, and the covering falls, pales, fades, diminishes its influence. It's still there, but it diminishes, and then it disappears. If we keep going. Yes, behind you. Microphone? Oh, you got it already. Okay.
Maharaj, I have two questions.
Okay.
Similar to Amrita Kelly's, along the lines of Amrita Kelly's question, I was thinking of how Krishna reciprocated with Queen Kunti's prayers at the end, and he wasn't necessarily overtly expressive at the end of her prayers either. And she was completely satisfied. My question in this case, do we have any insight in the internal contemplations or feelings of Krishna as he's reciprocating, however he was reciprocating with Brahma?
Vishwanath did a fantastic job. Including sarcasm. Other than our acharyas making comments as we go along, specific to how Krishna was processing what Brahma was doing or saying, it's already, the commentary is already there. Now, if you like, have a little conversation with Shatarupa, and she can share with you this little document that will answer your question more than I would like to do in a public forum. There's translations of many commentators, and how they're viewing this exchange. Okay.
Second question, Maharaj. Brahma is appreciating, really grateful of how he and other demigods are receiving through the senses of the Rajvasis.
Yes.
The love of Krishna.
Yeah. The qualities of Krishna, the experience of Krishna, the love of Krishna.
And my thoughts were going to, the end, and that's this philosophy of Sankhya is described at the end of the second canto, where the demigods are enabling our senses.
Yes.
And then my thoughts were going to how does Brahma and other demigods experience our senses when we engage in all kinds of nonsense? And it's pretty embarrassing. So is there any indication of what they must be experiencing?
Well, my understanding is that in that particular, go over that little section of the demigods are experiencing, because there's gradations of demigods. There's the, what's the word, prototype demigods, and then there's the demigods. And the prototype demigods are the ones that are experiencing, because the demigods of the created realm, they're not experiencing through the senses of the Brajvasis. There's sets of demigods, the prototype and the ones that are moving about in the universe with material powers. That's who they are, and that's what their capacity is. They're not the ones that are experiencing this. So back to your question, they're controlling our senses, but experiencing through our senses what we're experiencing, or people that do bad stuff, or mode of ignorance stuff, or violent stuff, or disgusting stuff. You know, they're sanctioning, they're controlling in that sense, but not in this. I don't recall reading anywhere that they're experiencing what every conditioned soul is experiencing through their senses. The uniqueness of the primordial or the prototype demigods that make these arrangements for the eternal associates of Krishna, that's something else. That's very unique. They give some power, but not necessarily they're experiencing through the senses of nonsense people. Look at this. There's an extra microphone.
I was wondering, since we're on the topic of demigods, whenever King Indra is discussed in Bhagavatam, usually there's, at least for me,
Shaking a finger at him, right?
yeah, a little bit. But he's also considered a Vaishnava.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit confused as to how to like...
How to match the two.
Yeah.
Pride. This is one of my isms. The fruits of piety, this is a math formula, plus a heart that's impure equals what? Pride. So he falls subject to pride. Like his offense to Brahaspati, and there have a big Indra festival, and he doesn't even acknowledge his guru. And his guru walks out. And he recognizes, whoops. So he finds himself now and then, because his heart is not pure. He has big power, post, etc., but then there's also this other problem. It's a problem. Some persons want to go to heaven, what to speak of becoming the king of heaven, but it's problematic, because there's opulence and there's enticement because of that opulence, indulgence, and then one becomes intoxicated with power and stuff. So it's a warning. It's not like be impious so you don't get good stuff, but whether it's this or that or the other thing, beware of pride. And Indra isn't sufficiently wary, so he has to get bonged on the head every now and then. And it's embarrassing.
Is it Vaishnava aparadh then if we're a little bit frustrated by Indra while reading these pastimes?
Well, yeah, we frustrated, I would say, with palms folded. My dear Lord Krishna, please protect me. Because you may not become Indra, but you're going to get something because you're a Vaishnava, and Krishna's going to give you something. It's a little bit, not the same, but it's a little bit like Sudama Brahman. And he was happy being impoverished. His wife wasn't happy, out of her affection for her husband. So when he came back from visiting Krishna in Dwarka, he was astonished. He didn't recognize his wife. He did that house was missing. It was a palace instead of a house. So the upshot was he lived the same lifestyle. His wife had the opulence, but he slept on the floor and did the same thing that he did when he was, with nothing. Not next to nothing, with nothing. So that we don't have to imitate what he did, but we have to learn lessons from Indra. So you with palms folded, if you supposing you become good at something. Prabhupada explained, Lord Brahma has designed this body in such a way, you practice at something, you become expert at that something. With devotion, you practice at something, and so then you become expert at something. Then what? You're going to get praise. And if you get praise, you fall into Maya. If you're not staying in the humble position. And it's easy to not stay in the humble position and say, yes, at last, etc. So beware. Learn a lesson with palms folded. Indra's teaching us lessons. Don't worry, you're not likely to become king of heaven, but don't become angry at him. He's just, teaching us a nice lesson. So the opulence that we may get is peanuts compared to Indra, but we can become proud of peanuts. Even a pauper is proud of his penny. That expression. Here's a little Prabhupada story. Remember hearing Prabhupada explaining this. His father regularly went by train from Calcutta to Puri to attend the Jagannath Rath Yatra. And have you ridden trains in India? Okay, so from time to time the train stops, and you get out. If some people get out, and the people on the pavement in between the two trains, they're selling stuff, limkas and whatever else. So Prabhupada got off with his father, and he's looking around, and he observed there was a pauper husband and wife, and they had a burlap bag, and they were very carefully counting the pieces of discarded wood. Counting the pieces of discarded wood. And Prabhupada said, from that point I could understand even a pauper is proud of his penny. So beware. Your opulence is peanuts compared to Indra's. But you can be proud of that too. It's the principle. And Krishna doesn't like pride. It blocks. That's what happened to Brahma. And it can happen to anybody. It can happen to small guys and big guys and in-between guys. So don't be angry at him. Be thankful for the lesson. There's the covering and there's the soul. Don't identify with the covering. You've got a microphone back there.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question was, can different people have different experiences of Krishna?
Yes, they
and
do.
can all of them be true?
All of them what?
Can all of them be true? Like,
Well, your language is an important part of the question. An experience is an experience. And then the question is it true? It's their experience. But is it possible? The answer to this question is yes. Is it possible that you can have an experience that doesn't match reality? Look at the sun. It is a little disk in the sky, and they have an experience of the sun. Is it true? No. It's not a little disk in the sky. But that can be my experience.
so I was confused because some people say that, and it's also true, like it's also said in scripture, that if Krishna really likes you, he'll take away things from you. And then in his Leelas, when he likes people, he gives them things.
But he does both. He's Hari. With 1,000 hands he takes away, with 1,000 hands he gives. Like Sudama. There's so many examples, but he's a good one. Okay. On this side of the room, any voices? Okay. Up front, this little. You get the last question. Okay? It's going to be a good one, right?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I had a question about the Shiva pastime.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I was just wondering, Mother Yashoda requested Shiva to like take away the bad omens.
Yes. You know the
From-
pastime.
I think I've heard of it, but
Okay, you got it. I'm
Yeah.
looking for the picture. It's a nice picture. Go ahead.
so she asked him to take away the bad omens, but I feel like the bad omens came back as like demons. I mean,
So that what you're saying is Lord Shiva is a loser.
no. No. I mean, I was just asking why he said that.
When demons come, it's there's. Let me ask you, are there demons in Goloka? No. Are there demons in Vaikuntha? No. There are demons in the material world? Yes. And Krishna likes. He likes chivalry. He likes the creativeness of how to deal with this one, how to deal. His faculties are not challenged in Goloka. They're within him. Everything is within him. But so he likes. So it's all about Krishna's pleasure and protecting his devotees, and Krishna liked both. So look at it that way. Because when Krishna was crying, it wasn't because of a bad omen. Mother Yashoda thought it was a bad omen. Exactly. That's exactly the pastime. Evil influences upon her son, causing him to cry. So please protect him. But that's her motherly mood. She's looking at this very strange-looking person who she was afraid of before, just to look at him, and now he has power to, because Krishna is now smiling, seeing him. So please protect him from these. So it's her motherly love. And then Lord Shiva, Krishna is supreme. Krishna is going to deal with demons because he wants to deal with demons. With Lord Shiva or without Lord Shiva.